Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Club Ice Hockey at Indiana University pregame show. I'm Brandon Schaff alongside our play-by-play man and voice of the team, Casey Roehl. And to my right, we have Sam Weixler, another one of our hockey analysts who will be covering the team with us as we have been so far this season. We're happy to have you here in Bloomington, Indiana. We were in Columbus, Indiana, recently getting back from Columbus, Ohio, where they took on Ohio State. Unfortunately, fell 2-0, and there was really a lot to take away from that one, especially on the defensive end.
There was, and Andrew Newman mentioned last week before the start of the Ohio State series that this was the first TSCHL matchup, and as members of this new 8-team league, this was Indiana's first chance to make a splash, and it was the other way around. Ohio State, the freshmen, which Indiana has 13 of them entering that series. It was the freshmen of Ohio State that took over last week. And Hakan Salt, the freshman out of Istanbul, Turkey, playing only his second game in the United States. He scored 4 goals in game 1, followed it up with a goal in game number 2. But Ohio State, out of their 5 goal scorers last week, 4 of them were freshmen. And for Indiana, it was the other way around because unlike the plethora of freshmen and first-year players we saw against DePaul a couple weeks ago, it was some of the similar names and faces last week that got on the scorecard.
Well, certainly what we saw in that first weekend against DePaul, 5 different goals for Indiana from 3 different goal scorers, but still got outscored 12-5. What are they going to have to do differently against Bradley this weekend, playing a team that usually does very good on the road?
Bradley's a good road team, as you just said, and what Coach has been working on with the team this evening and the other evenings this week is reinventing how they work the power play, trying not to give up so many goals and trying to put shots on frame instead of just throwing pucks toward the backside.
Well, there's no question about it. Attention to detail is going to be the key. As we talked about in the first show of the season, Indiana has not played as well at home as they have on the road. So what is it going to take to really try to turn that around as they get their home set started this weekend?
Well, I'm going to actually go back to what Sam mentioned a bit ago. The power play, opposing teams, they were dominant on a man advantage. Last week, Ohio State, on their first 2 power play chances of the series against Indiana back in Columbus, they went 2 for 2. Indiana was up 2-0 at one point in the second period. Ohio State came back, scored 2 power play goals to tie the game up at 2. And then after that, it was all Buckeyes. The 2 power play opportunities, they sprang an Ohio State offense that finished game 1 last week on a 7-1 run over the last 27 minutes. So power play opportunities can kickstart and or deflate other teams at any point in the game. So that's one thing that Indiana's going to have to work on in the opener tomorrow against Bradley. Number 2, the way that the Frank is configured, the boards are a lot smaller. They're springier. They go from point A to point B. So in a span of 2 seconds, you as a defenseman could be in a defensive zone and then banking the puck off the boards, and all of a sudden you could have an opportunity in attacking zone simply because the ice sheet here is that small.
Well, Ohio State was a matchup that Indiana really knew was going to be a challenge going into it, and being outscored in the way that they were, does that crush a little bit of the confidence as they go forward?
I don't think so. It's only game number 4 games through the season. Bradley's going to be games number 5 and games number 6, but long ways to go. Ohio State, in my opinion, was some sort of a measuring stick game. Andrew Newman had said, this is our first chance to test where we're at in the TSCHL, our first chance to make an impact, and obviously it wasn't what the team was looking for. Game 1 was a blowout, 8-3 Ohio State. Game 2, a bit more respective, 4-2 Ohio State came away with the sweep, but goal 3 for the Buckeyes came with less than a minute to go in the game, and then goal number 4 was an empty net goal. So obviously the score is going to be a little bit deceiving there, but building off that second game, there are a lot more positives that this team can take away from the series in contrast to game 1.
What are some of those positives?
Well, a lot of the younger players just started feeling the system. They were feeling the zone, and Austin Eng, Jack Jordan, they got on the scoreboard in game number 2. It's good to see those two kick-starting their campaign as well. Eng had a lot of offensive scoring chances in that series. Good to see him get a goal in the series finale against the Buckeyes. Jack Jordan, he had goals in both of the games last week, and for a guy who's coming off of a career year last season, it's good to see him get his first 2 goals of the season because we're at the early point of October. It's October 3rd, going to be October 4th tomorrow. Jordan didn't get his first 2 goals until the middle of October last season. So for him to get started as early as he has before he's here on the home sheet at Frank Southern, where traditionally he's been a better goal scorer at home than on the road. It's definitely good to see, knowing that Bradley, a team coming into town that this team has historically had decent numbers against, that's always a good sign to start from.
Well, we mentioned all the goal scorers for Indiana as they took on Ohio State last weekend. One of those goal scorers, Jack Jordan, got a couple words with us as he previews this upcoming matchup against Bradley.
With my teammates, we're finally establishing a good forecheck, getting to know where each other are on the ice. We can kind of make plays and expect them to be in a certain place, which helps us kind of establish a presence in the offensive zone. And by doing that, we're just working hard, and with hard work comes the opportunities. I know in the first game it was just Cristiano getting a puck to the net, and in the second game it was a good rush by Colin Fitzgerald, and we were able to capitalize on an odd man rush.
Well, looking forward, there's certainly a lot to look forward to in this matchup. Now, Bradley is by no stretch of the imagination going to be a cakewalk for Indiana, and they certainly have their hands full with a player like Kyle Tintera, who really has been a focal point of this Braves offense.
Well, similar to what Indiana is going to be facing in the University of Louisville in a span of a few weeks with Giannis Tsoukas, who's an all-time great goal scorer in the ACHA. Tintera has had his names all over the record books with this Bradley program. The all-time leader in goals, all-time leader in points, one of the top leaders in points per game, and also power play goals. And historically, he's had Indiana's number in 5 career games against the Cream and Crimson. He's got 5 goals. So with that calculation, it's a goal a game. And with 2 games coming up this weekend, if you're Andrew Newman, who's had experience against Tintera, the main point is let's try to keep number 2 in red and white off the scoreboard.
And for more on what's coming up against the Braves this weekend and how to contain them, here's head coach Andrew Newman.
Bradley, they've got a lot of speed. They've come a long way. It used to be on the game, on the schedule that, I don't want to say we took them lightly, but we thought we had a good opportunity to pick up 2 wins. Going into this weekend, we know it's going to be a battle. We know it's going to be a grind. If we don't bring our A game, then we're not going to win the game tomorrow or Saturday.
Well, Sam, all 8 teams in the TSCHL were able to get into action over the course of this past week. We've had an opportunity to see all that this league has to offer, and there's really been a lot of surprises as this season has gone along so far.
There really has. Ohio got whitewashed completely by Liberty. They didn't score a single goal in the games they played. Bowling Green, who was in the cellar last season, actually beat Louisville in 2 games. So there's been a bit of a mix-up in terms of what we expected and what we had coming out of last year.
Casey, you had the opportunity to look at this league from top to bottom, and it really has changed things around. A lot more parity this year.
Brandon, Sam had mentioned Louisville getting swept last week. The main thing that stood out to me, Xavier is 4-0. This is a Xavier team that came into Bloomington last season, got completely swamped out of this same facility that we're in right now at Frank Southern Ice Arena. They looked like they had no business being in the TSCHL, so to start completely perfect at 4-0 through 4 games, that's something that really caught my eye. And for Louisville to really have a lackluster performance offensively with one of the greatest goal scorers in Division II history in Giannis Tsoukas and Louis Abinator on that team, that really caught me by surprise too, but mostly Xavier starting 4-0, and with Ohio, who's been a perennial powerhouse in the 8-team TSCHL league, having a bit of a slower start too.
Well, we had a great opportunity to preview the rest of the league, but it's only one team in our focal point coming up this weekend, Indiana taking on the Bradley Braves at 10 p.m. on Friday, 2:45 on Saturday. Catch us for the pregame show 20 minutes before the puck drops on both days, and we'll be happy to see you there. For Brandon Schaff, alongside our play-by-play man, Casey Roehl, we'll see him this weekend for the Bradley matchup, and our expert Sam Weixler over here. We will see you there, and do not forget to follow us on social media and catch the game live at the Indiana University Ice Hockey Facebook page, and follow us on Twitter at HockeyIU and on Instagram at Hockey@IU, spelled out AT, and on Snapchat at IU Hockey. We will see you there and see you this weekend.